Hello and welcome to Brax will let you know, one voice at a time. And today I have a very special guest. Mind introducing yourself?
Yes, my name is Byron Williams. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. So today, my dad and I are going to be talking a little bit about perseverance. As usual, we always start off with a quote. And today's quote is a bit personal for both of us, but today I'll be using the two stanzas at the end of the poem. Often the goal is nearer than it seems to a faint and faltering man. Often the struggler has given up when he might have captured the victor's cup, and he learned too late when the night slipped down how close he was to the golden crown. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of the clouds of doubt. And you never can tell how close you are, it may be near when it seems so far. So stick to the fight when your heart is hit, it's when things seem worse that you must not quit. What does perseverance mean to you?
So, perseverance is near and dear to me. In 1982, I was inducted into the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. One of the four cardinal principles that was instilled in me during the pledge process was that of perseverance. Our four cardinal principles are manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. Throughout my life, I've always had to persevere through the difficult times in childhood all the way through adulthood. So that was a subject that I felt I could expound on, relate to, and communicate to the world the importance of perseverance.
Awesome, thank you. Are there any examples you're willing to share about perseverance that you've experienced?
Sure. So, as a child, my mom was mentally disabled. She couldn't really take care of us. And my father, I had an absentee father. He wasn't really in our life supporting us. And I was the oldest of the three. And I had to, on occasion, get a part-time job to help feed my brothers and sisters. I had to cook at a very young age. When my mom did have a job, I was responsible for taking care of the house. I remember working for a convent on the weekends. It was a Saturday. I went to St. Anselm's at the time. And I was paid $6 to clean up the entire convent. But I had a good work ethic. And I know we needed the money, so I would work on that Saturday, work probably till noon, and then walk home. And on occasion, I may pick up some potatoes and carry those 5 pounds of potatoes about a half a mile. And believe me, my arms were like lead by the time I got home. So as far as food is concerned, my mom was on welfare, and we at the end of the month, you get a certain amount of money, and it's supposed to last the entire month. And most of the time, it did not last the entire month. So we'd be hungry. We'll cook things that without meat sometimes, such as a cornmeal mush is what I made once. I remember how bad it tasted. And then we'll cook French fries, anything to get us through the month until we get, renewed food stamps at the time. That's what they called them, food stamps. And I had to persevere through that. And I went to approximately 5 grammar schools because my mother was institutionalized. We lost our home, and I actually had to go to 5 different grammar schools. St. Anselm, I remember that being one of the institutions that prepared me to go to the next level, high school and college. Because Catholic school back then was very regimented, very strict. You learned your multiplication tables, you learned how to divide, and I built that foundation at St. Anselm, I remember. I ended up graduating from Kosh Grammar School, went to Dallas for a while, and those schools were in the Woodlawn area. And after graduating from grammar school, I was living with my aunt, my great aunt at the time, and started out at South Shore. Then we stayed with our father for 1 year, went to Evanston Township, and finally Whitney Young. So I graduated from Whitney Young. Evanston Township was a great school, and so was Whitney Young, because that's a magnet school in the city of Chicago. And although I had to go to 5 grammar schools, 3 high schools, I had to persevere during life early on. And no matter what, I wanted to get that education. In high school, I ended up staying with my grandmother, and she always instilled in me education. Get the education. You have to have an education. You don't want to make limited. You don't want to limit yourself to a certain amount of money. And she was always struggling, trying to pay bills. And I was fortunate that she was able to take care of me and instill good principles in me at the time. And Whitney Young ended up being a great institution for me to learn and go forward in the future with my matriculation and other educational institutions. And then college, went to Western Illinois University. It was a great school. That's where I pledged Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Started out with great grades, got online, pledged, and of course, not everybody, but for me, when I went over, my grades dropped, and I remember being on academic probation. And then after academic probation, I was on academic suspension. So all of the pledging process, going over in a fraternity, and just I wasn't focused on grades, which is what I should have been. And I ended up being on academic suspension, and I had to go home. And you can't go back to school with your academic suspension. You're basically kicked out temporarily until you appeal and get back in. And I remember having conversations with my grandmother about it, and I just made the decision that, hey, I can handle school. So I wrote an essay to get back in. I appealed, got back in, and I graduated, picked my grades back up, and did good. I graduated from Western Illinois University in 1986. And after that time, after I graduated, my grandmother said, hey, I'm taking you as far as I can take you. You're on your own. So at a young age, 22, I'm like, what do? I don't have a job. I don't have a place to stay. So my college roommate, Paul Smith, one of my great friends, he moved to Atlanta. So I decided to move to Atlanta too. I said, well, let me get away from Chicago. I wanted to see how Atlanta was. It was warm, of course. Chicago's been cold, and I was in Chicago all of my life. So I decided to move to Atlanta, Georgia. Stayed down there. Stayed with Paul. Couldn't stay with Paul. He had some issues with his residence as well. Stayed with a high school friend. Ended up staying with another high school friend. A couple of football players that we all played on the same team. And my major was finance. And I applied in banking, applied in insurance, did not get any interviews. We may have been in a recession at the time in 1986, and it was very difficult to get a job. So I ended up going to an employment agency, and what they had available was a restaurant job. So I said, well, hey, I need a job. I need to take care of myself. I need my own place. Did not want to be a restaurant manager, but I ended up accepting the job. So I was an assistant restaurant manager. That was my first employment job, full-time employment job, a restaurant manager at Delights of America. And my salary at the time, I believe, was $14,300. So that was my salary. And I remember when I had my apartment after securing that job, that, you get paid every 2 weeks. And of course, you had to pay your rent once a month. Looked at my check, and one check was not enough to cover the rent for an entire month. So I was like, wow, I'm in trouble, because you have utilities, you got your car expenses, you got food, and that was an eye-opening experience. So I decided, hey, I better get a part-time job in addition to my full-time job. So that was another example of how you have to persevere in life. You're gonna have tough times. Things are not gonna always work out according to plan. You go to school, you get a great degree, and you have dreams to do great things, and sometimes those opportunities don't come right away. Sometimes you have to settle for whatever you can get at the time and push forward until you find something a lot better. So after Delights of America actually closed, I started to look for other jobs. I ended up working at John Hancock in insurance and working in claims. That would be medical claims. So my salary went up a couple of $1,000s, not significantly, but I felt better with an office job as opposed to a restaurant job with my degree. And I was working for John Hancock for some time, and I ended up asking my brother to move down to Atlanta with me, and also one of my college friends, fraternity brother. So all three of us had an apartment, and we all shared the expenses. And I remember we were still struggling, and I was still working. I don't know if I had 2 jobs at the time, basically 1 maybe. But even with the 3 of us, we had a 3-bedroom apartment. We were still struggling. And I remember talking to one of my friends, fraternity brother, Ron Johnson. We were talking about education. And he said, hey, you know what? I was telling him how difficult it was living, not making enough money. And he said, hey, you know, my brother is working on his MBA. So we started discussing getting an MBA and what the salaries were. And I said, well, you know what? I think that's one of my goals in life. I need to get another degree to hopefully double my salary, because he sent me an article. And in that article, it identified the institutions in the country, the top 10 business schools in the country. I looked down the list, I looked at the salaries, and I became very intrigued and motivated to go ahead and pursue an MBA. And I looked at the list. It had University of Chicago, Northwestern, had of course Harvard, Yale, and University of Michigan. And when I looked at the list, I said, well, regionally, they're all in the north. I'm down south, so maybe I need to be up north. And with University of Chicago and Northwestern, my hometown in Chicago, I'll move back to Chicago and make plans to pursue my MBA. So ended up leaving Atlanta, moving back, found another job in insurance claims. At the time, it was easy to find a job processing medical claims. I was able to find another job in Park Forest. So I remember the company was Albert H. Bowers Insurance. So I had that job and stayed with my father for a few months until I got my own place. And while I had my own place, that's when I started doing the research on how to obtain the MBA. So one of the first steps is taking the GMAT test. So the GMAT test, I took it the first time. Didn't do so good. I was very good in math, but there's certain subjects in math. Algebra, great. Calculus, good. Geometry and trigonometry, not so good. So of course they had geometry on the test, the GMAT test. And my math score wasn't as great as I wanted it to be. I applied for the University of Illinois, and I got in there, and I also took a class. But I didn't want to go to the University of Illinois, Chicago. I wanted to go to one of those top 10 business schools. So during the summer, I took a geometry test. I took that geometry test to improve my math score on GMAT. That was another example of how I set a goal. I didn't accomplish what I wanted. I didn't get in one of the best schools like Northwestern, Chicago. I didn't apply for Chicago. I just had an interview at Northwestern. And I talked about what GMAT score you need to get accepted and things of that nature. And so after I took that geometry class, I took the GMAT again. So my score shot up 60 points after that. And so that's when I started applying to, I applied to University of Michigan, I applied to some other schools, maybe DePaul. And every day, you know, you look in the mail, did I get accepted? You know, you send out the application, you pay the fee, and then they mail back your acceptance or rejection. And I'm like, if it's a small envelope, it's a rejection letter. And then I remember opening up my mailbox one day, and it was a huge envelope, and it was from the University of Michigan. And I was like, I just knew I got in. I opened up the envelope, and it was unbelievable. I actually accomplished my goal of going to one of the top 10 business schools in the country. I think that was a clear-cut example of perseverance. I didn't let that low GMAT score, the initial low GMAT score, keep me down. I said, well, let me do something to improve my score. I took that geometry class, and I took the GMAT a second time, and I wrote a great essay. I got letters of recommendation from the owner, Albert H. Rollers, and I mailed that application off, and I accomplished my goal of getting into one of the best business schools in the country. And believe me, when I say it's one of the best business schools in the country, I think my first semester, after 5 years of leaving Western Illinois University, I'm right back in the heat of battle, studying every day, group sessions every day, assignments, essays, writing. I think I was close to having a nervous breakdown that first semester. It was quite, the experience of getting right back into it, studying. And when I compared Western, the testing, with University of Michigan, there was no comparison. I'm like, they challenge you to a level that's, you really have to hunker down. You really have to understand the material and comprehend the material. The finance, I was a finance major. Finance classes were challenging. Stats class, they were very challenging. Every class you took, it pushed you to get the best out of you. The teachers pushed you to get the best out of you. I remember, multiple choice questions are typically very easy. You have process of elimination. Okay, this is the best answer. But one class, we took a multiple choice quiz and a test, and the teacher said, I want you to tell me why the multiple choice questions that are wrong, why they're incorrect, and why the one that is correct. So he took it to the next. I'm like, what? I just want to answer the right question. I don't want to sit here and decipher why the wrong multiple choice questions were wrong. So that was just an example of how challenging the school was. In addition to all the writing and all the group interaction we had to do, it was a 2-year program, but I managed to get through, tough it out. But it really, really prepared me for the next level in life. You go to a great school, and you ready to conquer the world after you graduate. You prepared to go out and show all of the skill sets that you've learned in the business world, and you're ready to tackle it head on. That was another example of perseverance, of getting through a tough time. And I relate directly with perseverance because I've had to do that, I believe, in every stage of my life, in addition to working. I remember working with Family Home Service. I started out at Family Home Service as just doing the lawn. I needed extra money. I always had a second job to get additional income. I was just cutting the grass on the weekends to get extra money, and cutting the grass turned into bookkeeping. Started doing bookkeeping and office work. And after that turned into being an office manager. And I remember a lady quitting one day, and I had to just start doing all the work because she just left the entire office, got upset. I'm not too sure why. And I remember taking over her duties. So that turned into an office manager and doing the payroll. I was very good at analytical things as well as software. And from there, I kept that job while I was at University of Michigan. I was actually working remotely in 1991. The company, of course, was located in Chicago. I was in Ann Arbor, and I was working remotely, sending the payroll back, FedExing the payroll back, still doing the bookkeeping work, and that helped subsidize my education at the time. And after that, I was offered stock in the company, and I ended up being the CEO there. I had 2 additional partners, and I worked there. Took the company from probably 50 employees to well over 300 employees. Probably had 200 to 300 clients when I started, and ended up having over 1,000 clients. Got another contract with the Illinois Department on Aging, and it was great. I was using my degree, growing a business, actually doing great work for the company, and I was proud of my accomplishments at the time. Partnership didn't work out, and I had a mortgage company as well. I always believed in multiple revenue streams. Had a mortgage company, and when the partnership ended, I decided to work on my mortgage company full time. Unfortunately, this is during the subprime time, during 2005, 2004, and there was a lot of predatory lending laws. Loan officers had to be licensed, and it was so difficult to grow the business and produce at the same time because if you didn't have a license, you couldn't be a loan officer. So I had 20 to 30 loan officers, and they just started falling off. They were unable to pass the test. So at that time, I decided hey, it's time to look for a better job. I need a job because I can't be an entrepreneur with no employees, no independent contractor, loan officers to help sustain the company as well as my salary. So I had done a redevelopment loan with Omni National Bank. So I decided hey, let me apply for their job. They may need a loan officer since I have experience as a mortgage broker. I know how to do the underwriting portion or pre-underwriting as a loan officer and qualifying individuals for purchasing homes. So I ended up applying for a position with Omni National Bank as a redevelopment lender. Sent them my resume, and I ended up interviewing with the vice president and the co-owner of the bank, and it was a phenomenal interview one day with the vice president. The co-owner came in to do a second interview. He ended up flying me in a private jet from Chicago all the way back to Atlanta, where the bank was. So the bank was founded in Atlanta, and here I am, full circle, Chicago, Atlanta, back in Atlanta again. And I trained as a redevelopment lender for 4 months, but it was great. I felt on top of the world to actually be in a private jet after an interview, flying to Atlanta and working for a bank. Was the first African American redevelopment lender at the time, and I did a great job as far as being a lender, redevelopment lender here in Chicago. I did a lot of public speaking, talking about investing and flipping property and funding investors' deals. And unfortunately, the bank closed too. So here, my mortgage company closed. I go work for a bank. The bank closes, and here perseverance pays off, right? You have to continue in life, no matter what adversities come before you. Understand that tough times will not always be tough. They're not indefinite. Eventually, you'll have your breakthroughs in life. You just have to keep your head up and suck it up and keep moving forward, because you will shine again. The sun will shine on you one day. So after that bank closed, I decided to try to continue my career in banking. But as opposed to the lending side, which was my experience in lending, I worked on the deposit side. So I remember working for Cole Taylor. But my salary, once the bank closed, dropped like to 1/3 of what it was. So now I'm back to, oh man, I'm starving again, but I've been there before. I know how it is to struggle from childhood, even early adulthood, and now here I am, not making enough money again. So I said, well, you know what? I'm gonna get out of banking. I had a finance degree, took a lot of accounting classes. I'm gonna get something stable, go into accounting. And I decided to start my own accounting company. I was doing bookkeeping, doing taxes on the side. And with that experience, accounting experience, I put that on my resume. I started looking for the degree, looking for jobs in the finance and accounting field. Ended up working for Paul Simon Chicago Job Corps as a finance manager. And after that, I applied for a financial management position at Chicago Housing Authority. So I've been working for the Chicago Housing Authority for 10 years. I am now the HCV accounting supervisor there. working in accounting. And this month makes 10 years of the Chicago Housing Authority. It's been great, blessed. The Chicago Housing Authority will not close, so I don't have to worry about the cyclical nature of the economy. We're government funded, so it's a nice, secure job. And of course, I intend to retire there. But I've also decided to explore entrepreneurial endeavors as well. So I, of course, continue to do tax returns on the side. And now I've opened up a real estate business. I decided to get my real estate license because a couple of friends of mine, we wanted to do some property flipping, just to purchase a property, a distressed property, fix it up, repair it, resell it. So I thought it would be best to get my real estate license. So I ended up, after I got my real estate license, it took me about a year and a half or two, and then I started doing great, phenomenal. I was getting phenomenal results from being a real estate agent. And since I already knew how to run a business, I said, well, hey, I don't necessarily need to work under anyone. I can open my own real estate company, which is what I did. So Dreamcatcher Realty, LLC, I opened up that business a couple of years ago, and been doing good so far. And through all of these difficult times I've had throughout my life, I think it just prepares you from one stage to the next to keep going forward. And now I'm working for the Chicago Housing Authority, have a business on the side, and financially very stable, and able to help educate my kids, family, provide for them, which is what I set out to do at a young age.
Awesome. So what has sort of kept you motivated to continue on doing those persevering journeys?
Well, I think I'm self-motivated. I'm a self-motivated person. I always wanted to be, I guess, successful in life. Didn't want to starve, didn't want to have to worry about food, didn't want to have to worry about clothing, some of those things that I didn't have as a young child. I guess they helped push me in life. And I remember when I stayed with my grandmother, I didn't even have my own bedroom. I stayed on the let-out couch. I think when you don't have anything at a young age, for some people, it motivates them to do better in life, so that they do have the things that they didn't have as a child. You can have those, not necessarily luxuries, I would call them necessities. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's probably what motivated me. But I guess being the oldest also, when you're very responsible, you have been in leadership positions, in college, I was elected to be the president. I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. At a young age, I remember making some Kool-Aid, putting it in ice tray, and putting toothpicks in the ice tray with a little plastic on it. And I used to sell that on the front steps of the home we were living in. And from a young age, I had that type of desire to be entrepreneurial. And you can be entrepreneurial at a job in addition to external business ventures that you may have.
Can you explain a bit the feeling of finally accomplishing a goal?
Well, I think elation. You're just very excited. I think it's just you're satisfied for the moment, happy for the moment. And the best thing I believe about accomplishing a goal is that you have an opportunity just to enjoy life for the moment. It's something that you set out to do no matter how long it took you to get there. Could be years, could be months, and you accomplished something that you had in your mind and in your heart, and it manifests itself in the physical world. And that's just overwhelmingly, grateful that you can do and you're blessed to do.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of manifestation, a lot of people talk about like dream boards, or how did you sort of manifest that into the physical world? Were you praying a lot, or were you thinking about it all the time, or writing about it?
You know what? I think I'm a focused person internally. in my mind. I think more so than writing things down and, dream boards and things of that nature. I think I just focus on a goal and just do it.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes an obsession with me. And then after that, I just work towards it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think about it. Start reading. I read books, I research, and then I just go about one step at a time.
Mm-hmm. So how has your power of self evolved over the time during this whole journey?
Okay, well, you know what? I think when you're young, you get a little cocky, a little arrogant. I'm not that type of person anymore. I think it's best to listen, be collaborative, work well with others. You may not always be right, even though you think you're right. You have to appreciate everyone's gifts in life. You have strengths and weaknesses, and so does someone else. When you work collaboratively and allow other people to add to whatever endeavor you may have, it becomes that much better. You can't be myopic and think that, hey, my way is the right way, and if you don't want to do it this way, get out. No, I think it's been during this journey, I've learned to appreciate others and their gifts that they have in life, and don't let every little thing upset you. And every little thing cannot upset you in life. I think stress kills. I think stress deters. I think stress could be a part of your failure, and not everything should stress you out in life. I think you have to roll with the punches, accept criticism. It's okay. You're not perfect. I think you need to learn that early on in life, that if someone has something constructively to say to help you become a better person, I think you owe it to that person and yourself to listen. And most of all, change if you have the ability to change. That's probably the hardest thing for people to understand, that there is some things wrong with me and there are some things that I need to correct. And what can I do to start getting to be a better person in life? What corrections can I make? So you have to be analytical as far as internally with you and communicating with you. How can I be a better person? How can I be a better father, a better husband, a better worker, a better employee, a better entrepreneur? Because, people tend to fail in life when they don't change and when they don't listen. Mm-hmm. And those are skill sets you have to learn to be successful in life.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So at the end of all my interviews, I always ask, is there any life advice or wisdom you wish to share?
Yeah, what I would say to, individuals out there, hey, do not give up. There are others that are worse off than you, others that are poorer than you, others who may have mental issues or physical issues that they have overcame, and your destiny is to be great. All you have to do is choose to be so. You choose. It starts in your mind. It starts in your heart. And in this world, it will manifest as long as you believe in your heart and your mind that you can do great things. No matter how difficult the times may be, continue to push forward and you will conquer.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Braxton.
Anything else you wish to promote or share to the world?
Yes, I would like to promote Braxton Williams' book. Please buy 1 million copies. I do have a real estate business. If you're out there looking for real estate in Chicago area, surrounding suburbs, Dreamcatcher Realty, LLC. You can look me up on the internet in the real estate field, and sure, I can help if you have any of those endeavors in mind, as far as purchasing a new home, buying an investment property, flipping houses, what have you. Look me up, please. And I want to say thank you to Braxton, my son. It was a pleasure being here. I'm so happy of your accomplishments in life, and the sky is the limit. And I know you're gonna persevere through the tough times Perseverance is a part of everyone's life, not just one, but everyone. So
Awesome.
fulfill your destiny.
Thank you. As usual, this is Brax will let you know, where we are using the voices in this world for the change we need in the world, and we'll see you next time. Thank you again.
Thank you.